On behalf of myself and Mary Pat, Lieutenant Governor Guadagno and her husband Mike, we first come here this morning to give thanks. The video reminds us of the journey that we have been on and reminds us, too, that that journey could not be traveled alone. When Hurricane Sandy hit our state, and you sit as the governor and hear of the loss and the damage and the rebuilding that is yet to come, you can easily become overwhelmed. Overwhelmed at the size of the task before you, overwhelmed at the degree of human suffering, overwhelmed at the degree of loss. And what brings you out of that sense of being overwhelmed? And it is the word that we're using this morning and the word that symbolized this organization. It's hope. And hope comes from each other. Hope doesn't come just from the government, but you hope that some does. Hope does not just come from your family because the loss is too great and no family by itself is large enough to endure. Hope came from the greater family, not just of each other here in New Jersey, but hope came from the greater family of America and folks around the world. Because of the $42 million that Mary Pat raised privately, some of that came not even from our own shores, from as far away as the United Arab Emirates and Japan. Those who cared did what they could. And I've often had people say to me, well, what happened to all that money? Well, you could tell them here what happened. We're so proud of the fact that organizations like this one stood up and took responsibility and never, ever once said, we can't do this. But each and every time they were approached, said, what more can we do? That's an extraordinary bit of leadership as well. And I would just end by saying all of this to you. It is not enough until every one of those families is back home. It is not enough just to say thank you. What I would ask of all of you today is, in ways both large, associated with natural disasters that happen in other parts of our country or around the world, but also in ways that are smaller, in your congregation, in your neighborhood, in your county, in your state, that you look for ways every day to say thank you. It may not necessarily be directly to a person who assisted you or someone you love during Sandy, but it is because of that grace and strength inside the people of New Jersey that we endured, have rebuilt, and recovered. And that grace and strength cannot leave us today. That grace and strength must carry on as a part of God's will and as a part of what we owe for the extraordinary gift that was given to us in the aftermath of disaster and destruction. The state of New Jersey fascinates people. You may have noticed as people came from all parts of the country. I remember one group in particular associated with this group that came from the South and came and parked in the parking lot with mobile kitchens in front of the fire department in Seabright. And Seabright had been, for all practical purposes, destroyed. We never knew they were coming. We didn't hear from them beforehand. We didn't instruct them to go to Seabright. They just came and showed up. And I heard from the mayor, and after 3 or 4 days of them preparing 3 meals a day for anyone who walked up and was in need, I decided to go and visit them. So I was talking to the folks who had traveled from so far and were giving so much. One of the women said to me, I said, "Why did you decide to come?" And she looked at me, she said, "Honestly?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I've been watching you people on TV for years. I wanted to meet you in person." I said, "Well, how does it match up?" And she said, "It's more than I ever could have expected." I don't know exactly what she meant, but I'm heartened by the fact that that distinctive character of our state attracted so many people for so many different reasons to reach out and to help us. And it has been, and will always be, the greatest honor of my 8 years as governor to have had the opportunity to lead the great people of this state through such a difficult trial. You're right, you don't run for governor to do this. And there is no manual waiting in one of the desk drawers for you on how to do it. But the way you lead is to draw inspiration from the people you lead. And that is what I did, and that is what I hope any leader, when confronted with this in the future, will do. We have much to be thankful for today. And if you just look at that video, you'll see why. We have much to be thankful for, and I am thankful to be here in the presence of all of you, survivors. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Governor.